This is Dr. Batts with the About That Life podcast, the podcast about life. We're living intentionally forever. Now, this is a special series in collaboration with TAN TV, the African American Network, where we're going to be talking about caring for the caregiver. Understanding that chronic disease and mental health and dementia and various things like that disproportionately affect communities of color. And what we want to do at TAN TV is really embrace that. Really use that as an opportunity to leverage not only our skill sets within our team, but also reach outside the walls of the studio and bring folks in who are either personally experiencing it, dealing with it, but all of them have overcome it. Now today is unlike any others. I'm joined by my, I say co-host, but kind of co-pilot as we fly this plane, moving things to various spaces. But we have a guest today that I'm gonna allow her to talk about not only her experience, but how her passion has fueled her profession in such a way that really framed the conversation around not necessarily dementia, but the impact that chronic disease has on us and how that impacts the caregiver. So what I want to do is have her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself as we transition. Sure. But before I do that, I have to make sure I have my co-host or co-pilot on this plane talk to us, let us know who he is or how he wants to frame it today. Sir?
Flying it straight.
Flying it straight?
Hello, Dr.
Yes,
Batts.
yes, sir.
My name is Derek Williams, and I am the founder or owner of Group Innovation and Diversity Training Associates, a multidiscipline consulting and training company focusing on individual, group, organizational, community behavior. And I'm delighted to be here for a lot of personal reasons and professional reasons. So without a doubt, we're ready to get this plane flying.
There we go. And in that same vein, we're talking about planes and lifting off. And again, when you came in, your spirit, your energy just lifted me. I said, my goodness, just what you... So introduce yourself to the folks and let them know a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Lisa Jackson, which you guys know. I'm a public relations manager here in San Antonio, Texas, and I have been in this profession for well over 20 years. I'm a native of San Antonio, graduate of Sam Houston High School, and in the time that I've been a public relations manager, I was PR for State Representative Texas Laura Thompson, Director of Public Relations for Bexar County Commissioner Tommy Calvert. I have on-air spots at KSAT 12. I'm the Public Relations Manager for SACAM, which is the San Antonio African American Community Archive and Museum. The Public Relations Manager for Dream Week, which we all know is here in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. And I advise the San Antonio Observer as well. I kind of call myself, I think I'm the PR person for the African American community here in San Antonio.
And as you enumerated, probably a very short list. I saw the list. You gave us the Cliff Notes version of that list, right?
Yes.
But as you enumerated that, it all kind of back to service, and not only for our community, even though I know we joked, hey, I'm the PR person for the African American community, but as we lift ourselves, we bring most others along with us. So talk about the intersection between how your role as a PR professional really kind of moved or shifted into a space where now you're looking at other things, and we'll talk about kind of your role as a care provider, but I know it has broadened your perspective from that.
Well, my parents raised us, I'm one of four, to care about our community, right? That's kind of what we were raised with. And I'd been a national publicist before all of those things that I've listed. And I had celebrities, Grammy winners and things like that, directors and whatever. And I was looking at my own community and I was saying that I noticed that on the television and the newspapers, every time I saw one of us, it seemed to be something negative. Somebody was in handcuffs or something like that. And I was like, and it just occurred, you grow up a bit. And I was like, that's not the black community that I know. Yeah. The black community that I grew up in, everybody's a nurse and the teachers and people are educated. And we sit down to dinner like everybody else. And, everything is normal. It's like, why is that not being reflected here in San Antonio? And as my parents got older, I said, I'm going to have to stop all this traveling because I was doing a lot of traveling with the celebrities and come home and take care of my parents, look after my parents. And I said, if I can do this for a Grammy winner, a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or all these different people, I can take that same skill set and bring it home and help my community. And that's what I have done with that. And I decided to represent these organizations in San Antonio to help us be on the television, get in the newspaper, get those positive articles in there and all of those different things. And so it's all part of care. You know,
Right.
It's all the same thing. I love my community. I wanted other people to love my community. And at the same time, I was able to be of service to my mother and father.
Wonderful. Now, I know, Mr. Williams, you haven't done that exactly, but really kind of purposed a lot of your organization in, reaching out and developing strategies, really from a structural standpoint. Can you speak to how, and I know we've had other guests talk about how they had to change their lifestyle, change their profession, and how you've been able to leverage those opportunities to really almost build a brand focused on building others up?
Well, Dr. Batts, because of historical circumstances,
Talk about, because you and I know what that means, but I want people to understand when you say that, it's a loaded term, and I want them to be able to break it down. Go ahead, break that piece down. Then
well, for instance, when we use the term African American, when you look at me, you can make a lot of assumptions about who I am. But when I say I'm an African American, in this country, that has not only particular meaning, but it has unique history. And often that history has been not affording us with all of the benefits that other group members have had a chance to have in their developmental process. My company was particularly concerned, just as Ms. Lisa pointed out, the lack of representation, the lack of visuals. And in America, we are opinionated by what we see. And so if you're not present, if you're not there, then you assume sometimes that we don't exist. And in the area of healthcare, organizational development, whatever, we have to be at the table. And so we have to bring forth the resources and the dedication, like she was saying. Here I'm providing service for pop stars or whoever representing, and here's our community over here watching and clapping and applauding, and I need to cut a piece of that pie and make sure that I address the issues that are pertinent to those historical circumstances, the lack of visuals, the lack of representation. And my company was uniquely positioned because I use a variety of people, a variety of perspectives. When you say African American, we're not all monolith, okay? Depending on your rural, your urban bringing, southern part of the United States, eating, nonverbal communications. I was taught when you're speaking with someone in a position of authority, you don't look them straight in the eye. Right. And then when you look at majority group members, they're looking for you to look them straight in the eye. But we don't, out of respect. That's Big Mama. That's Papa. When he's talking to you, you show him honor by. And so we wanted to make sure that our company focused on those variables, particularly with organizations. And so we could be better represented, make sure that the equity is not something that was given, but something that's deserved.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, and I like how you framed it in such a way that there is heterogeneity or variability amongst the African American community. And, this thing that I try to tell young folks is that get a seat at the table, because oftentimes if you're not at the table, then you're probably on the menu. And when y'all like that?
Yeah, I like that.
I do.
Y'all can use it. Y'all can use it. Somebody told it to me.
I like that.
But
useful.
But the thing is as we start to lay out caregiving and services provided, to think of every strategy toward caregiving as a block, and you get this and you check that box, it's different.
Yeah.
And I want you to really talk about how your role developed, because you were this busy, still are, professional, but you had to reshape, reframe, restructure everything to care for your parents, which something, and Mr. Williams, I want you to hop on this again a little later, where you talk about, in our context, the cultural context, we have not only, it is an obligatory, we have an obligation to say, I got to give back to mom. So talk about caregiving, if you give as much history as you feel comfortable about your situation.
You said the same thing, and it, I'd like to think still, but at least in my time growing up, there is an obligation to care for your mother and father. I hope that hasn't changed, but things do. But in my generation, there's an obligation because all of the things that I benefited from in life came from what they did. So, my younger brother and sisters, they don't live here. They're in Dallas. And my brother was, overseas. He was in the military and he came home, but he's working. So I was the one with the flexible schedule, unelected. I don't know how, but I became the one. But that wasn't a problem. What became an issue a lot of times was there were times that I needed to be on set for something that KSAT they needed to do. And I couldn't make it because Daddy had an appointment. But they were flexible with me. It's okay. Well, let's just reschedule. We still thank God for that. But it was a lot of juggling different schedules to make sure that my parents could get to their appointments, do what they need to do. A lot of following up with that. That was the part that was hard. And I became less prolific. I won't lie. The output of my work did lessen.
Yeah.
That's just
That's just the
price
nature of it, right?
Yeah, just the nature of just the price that I had to pay. But thank goodness I had good clients. I had long-term relationship with my clients, and they understood that because they had parents too. So everybody won't get that, but I was lucky enough to be able to do that. Now, for someone who is working a regular 9 to 5, that would be a totally different issue for them. But because I owned my own company, my own PR firm, I'm able to be flexible like that. But if you didn't have it, it would be a different thing. But it was a lot of time management, and a lot of dealing with 80-year-old people born in the 40s that don't let children tell them what to do. So a lot of I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, you the child. You don't tell me to take my medicine.
Right.
A lot of that, because that's my parents' generation, and kids don't tell them what to do. So but it's a lot of time management and a lot of patience and a lot of flexibility. But again, I stress because I was in charge of my own schedule. I was able to do that.
Mr. Williams, can you speak to the power of entrepreneurship? And we'll touch back on the specific. But these themes keep coming up, and I like how you articulate them in a space where it's not saying I don't have to listen to anybody, but it just says I have the flexibility to care for everybody. Right? And so can you talk about the power of entrepreneurship in the caregiving model for both the individual as well as those that are cared for?
Well, the freedom, I'm an old paranomics guy. Okay, I feel that our emancipation truly comes out of and will come out of our own independence and us being able to employ one another. But from a workforce standpoint, entrepreneurship, while it's very challenging, I've had 4 restaurants, okay, and that's probably the toughest work that anyone could possibly get into, okay, and yet the responsibility that went along with that, the freedom that it developed, younger ones, grandchildren, great grandchildren, being able to look and say, look at Grandpa. Okay, if Grandpa can do it, we can do it, and whether or not that was true or not, it provided a model. And so the freedom that comes out of entrepreneurship extends itself into a variety of areas of independence, our ability to perhaps set more time aside to take care of loved ones. So it is an advantageous dimension to have in our culture, where we're not obligated to have to check with the boss all the time. I got to leave. Sometimes you don't have time to check with the boss, okay? So I use that as a minor example of what entrepreneurship brings. But that freedom, that's freedom of emancipation. It allows us to do things that working for a corporation or whatever and having to get approval is not a prerequisite. And so it's definitely a dimensional area that I think we have to look at it from a very broad term. Yes, it does provide benefits for us and a certain amount of freedom.
Now, and again, I love that piece where it gives you the freedom, the flexibility, but, and if you don't mind sharing from a more personal standpoint, certain conditions just require you to pour into them.
Oh, yes.
Can you expound on, because most of our show, as we talked, is in the space of dementia, malcognitive impairment, but you've had to navigate organic conditions,
Yes.
cardiac conditions. Can you talk about, as much as you feel
Yeah.
comfortable sharing, that and how that brought about its own set of challenges?
Well, when my father first became ill, one day the EMS came to pick him up, and he didn't come home for 3 months.
Wow.
And so, and thank goodness for my sister, because she took the time off to come. That required that I be at the hospital every single day, as much as I could. And my sister came in, and we finally created a schedule, to do that. But that meant putting aside everything else.
Yeah.
Everything was okay, Daddy. Every conversation, everything was focused on who's gonna go over there with Daddy, who's gonna be there at 6:30 and 7:30 when the doctors walk through, because I don't know why they walk through early in the morning, but somebody's got to be there every morning, to get report from the doctors and see the doctors every morning, and that just became the whole focus. I remember. I remember the grass at the house didn't get cut for like 3 months. I know the neighbors hated us, but I was not concerned about that grass or anything else that was going on, and it was bad. But the sole focus was we have to be there for Daddy every day, because we're there saying, Daddy, you got to eat. Because Daddy wouldn't eat in the hospital. So he needed one of his children to say, okay, stop fighting with these nurses, Daddy. Stop fighting with these people. Eat this food, because my father's a whole mess. But stuff, just little stuff like that, to be an encouragement to him, because there were times that he would get depressed. And that was the first time in life I had one of those fathers where he was always Daddy.
Yes. Yes.
He was always the leader. He was always Daddy. And for the first time, Daddy needed us to be the parent, and that was hard.
Yeah.
And Daddy, now I'm talking to him like, Daddy, behave. Stop messing with these nurses. Leave the doctors alone. Can you please let them take your blood, Daddy? Can you, all this stuff, and then just even putting the ice chips, in his mouth, and Daddy, you got to drink the water. Daddy, you got to drink the juice. You got to, all these, just the role shift. If you come from, I had a 2-parent family, again, with my father being the head of the family. So that role shift from, and I wasn't expecting it. I think sometimes some people may go through something where they gradually come to find out, okay, eventually Mama or Daddy's getting, and you gradually take on that role of the role shift. Well, ours was in 24 hours, boom. Yeah. He went to the hospital, and all of a sudden, the role shift.
Yeah.
And that was hard. Wow. That was really hard. I know the first time I had to feed him in the hospital because he wasn't swallowing, I just broke out crying. I was like, what? Yeah. That shift. Yeah. It wasn't gradual, and that was hard.
Yeah. Well, Ms. Lee, as I listened to you, and you had mentioned earlier, Dr. Batts, concerning a sense of obligation. Statistically, it's the female member of the family that usually ends up with the majority of responsibility in the caretaking business, and I guess for a number of different reasons. I think that's a cultural adaptation. It's an expectation. On the good side, we take on that role, and we take it on aggressively and do the best we can. Unfortunately, however, many people are not prepared, or not as prepared and willing to put on that pair of trousers and take on that duty. And if you think of that, literally millions of people who don't have the resources, whose family has a lot of structural challenges for various different reasons, you can magnify this situation and see how, from a cultural standpoint, it's devastating for some families. When the head of the household, and I enjoyed you talking about Dad being the head, the man, because you look at stereotypes and the visual idea that the female is the head of the household. It was more of an equalitarian sharing. And for one of those members to be out of place, the whole family reverberates. Okay, the whole family reverberates. And I'm just tickled brown to hear your enthusiasm in taking that role, because you were taught from until, and so that excites me from a cultural standpoint to see. We talk about strengths and weaknesses. That's one of the strengths of the African American family. Okay, and not just an obligation, but a commitment. And when you can't do it, on the downside, a sense of guilt that you aren't able to do it.
Yes.
So there's a lot to manage here, psychologically, socially, and we are, in fact, a very special group of people.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I'll second that, certainly. And with that, I know you talked about just the sudden change that happened with your father that made it, I wasn't prepared. Who knew? You know, one day EMS, next day 3 months in the hospital. Now, moving forward, and I know you took some skills from that and some different tools from that. How was that different? And I know you care for your mother now. Now caring for your mother, kind of seeing it, kind of know what you. And again, I knew that'd get a you know, we gotta,
because my mother is a different person.
there we go. Well, talk about that. Talk about that.
My mother's still at her house.
Yeah. You say she ain't give nothing up. She ain't give nothing up.
And she reminds my brothers and sisters of that all the time. And she is the mother, and we are the child.
No matter how old you are.
Yeah, no matter how we are. My mother has not given up her role yet. But you know, even with her, it's been a transition because my father did pass away. We've just passed a year, that he wound up passing away. And so for her, and they've been married since they were in their 20s, and my mother's 84 years old. So for her to have lost, you know, her man, and then mothers being mothers, she still feels like she's mama and that she needs to take his place. And you know what I'm saying? She has not given up her role to her children.
Yeah.
Now she feels like she still needs to be mother to these 4 children who have children who are 60 years old.
Wow.
That's whatnot. And at
A lifetime quest.
yeah, so she never stopped being mother. She's not giving that up. She's still mama. But she has her health issues.
Right.
My mother was a nurse for over 50 years, retired.
Wow.
And back then, nurses did a lot of pulling and tugging and a lot of working on the floor and different things like that. And so that took a toll on her body.
Yeah.
And so she's got her own health issues now that she's dealing with. And currently, at this moment, she's actually hospitalized right now. So when I leave here, I'll be going over to see her. So that's part of it. You know, I still have things I have to do, but I still got to go visit my mother. But the good thing with her, because she was in the medical field, she looks at those pills they prescribe her and she's like, what is this for? Let me get out my book. And you know what I'm saying? She gets out her book. And but she is much more able to manage her care.
Right.
Because she understands, you know, what it is, why it's prescribed, and I don't want that. You know, you're not gonna give me that. You know, she's just, you know, that type of thing. But it's an emotional issue with Mama. I was just looking at it the other day, and for the first time, like really looked and said, "Mommy gotten old." You know, for the first, you know, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it, but because I'm still the child, as she says, she's Mama, she's still the child.
Yes.
I'm still looking at Mama. I'm still looking at Mama. And then finally, I looked the other day because she was in the hospital, and I was like, oh, Mommy even got old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not in a bad, not that I'm saying she looked bad, but it was just the realization that time, and there's about to be another shift. Like I said, with my father, she's not on her way out the door, but I'm like, there's about to be another change in the family structure, and I hope not for a long time, but it is coming, and that's the difference between my father. I wasn't prepared for the shift with my father.
Right.
With my mother, I'm being prepared for the shift that will come eventually with her.
And you know, and I like how you talked about and juxtaposed the differences in both those scenarios, and we could go on all day having this discussion because just how richly you're able to describe and articulate that. But as people look and we move to land our plane, so to speak, what would be 3 or 4 key things for folks not necessarily prepared for that transition, prepared for that change, that sudden shift, right? Because most people, like I say, when dealing with dementia, you have that lead time to build, prepare, and one of our prior episodes talks about how you build financial structure, long-term care. In your case, you had to do it. What would be some key strategies that you could give folks and really talk
I
to the
would
folks
say,
and let them know?
first of all, and this is my community, get your paperwork in order. Get your stuff in order. We were not as prepared as we should be, but my father was always a planner and thinker. He had
ahead,
more
yeah.
stuff done than what we thought because he always thought about protecting his family. So my father had things in place that we didn't even know about because he was thinking of the future. But get your paperwork in order. Have patience. If you are not prepared to change an adult diaper, you better have some money so you can pay somebody to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we had money to pay somebody to do it, and we still had to do it.
Yeah.
And my brothers were not prepared for that. They were like, Daddy!
Yeah.
You know? But that's the thing. Are you prepared to change those diapers? Are you prepared to feed people? Get your patience up, get your prayer book out, and get yourself in order. And be prepared. And when I say be prepared because I gave my father a bath at 11 o'clock. He's in his house. And I walked to check in him on 12 noon, and he said goodbye. He was gone. So you have to be prepared.
Wow.
Be prepared. But I'm glad because he wanted to pass in his own house. He always said that. He didn't want to go in anybody's hospital. And that's what he did. And I was glad I was there with him.
All right.
So
All right.
get prayed up. Get your paperwork up. Get your patience up. Keep your respect in order. And you'll be okay.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Mr. Williams, any quick closing?
Commentary. Certainly Queen Mother, okay, and a good child,
Thank you,
okay.
sir.
Appreciate those tips. I think because these things come at us without any preparation, we just don't have time to think about it.
Yeah.
Before you know, it's all right there, and so I think that's good advice that you can provide folk.
Yeah.
I know there's a variety of things. But we certainly appreciate you exemplify some of the things that you've done, how you dealt with it, and it's just a pleasure meeting Miss Lisa Jackson.
Thank you, sir.
And we wish you well, your
Yes.
mom and the rest of the family.
And I just want to thank my brothers and sisters because I'm not alone. They help too. Keep your family relations in order.
Well, again, as we close out, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, but you are for real. You are for real. You know I had to get that
I know
one in.
it. Everybody comes
There we
with
go. But thank you so much for
Thank you for having
sharing your spirit and your energy and really allowing folks to see a shift, right, in how we navigate care for others,
Yeah.
right? And you really, as he said, exemplified some of those skills that we're not always taught, we're not always built with. So thank you for that. As I mentioned, this is Dr. Batts with the About That Life podcast and my collaborative team at TAN TV as we work together to really singularly move forward with caring for the caregiver. The 3 P's we heard today, right? First off, being prepared, right? Getting that paperwork ready. Secondly, really focusing on your patience, understanding it's going to take time. And finally, staying connected in prayer. Understanding that the road as a caregiver isn't tough and it shifts and changes based on the type of care you need to give, how prepared you are on different things. But with the family, with the team, and with care, you certainly can do it. We pray that you will have a delightful rest of your day and join us for the next episode of Caring for the Caregiver. Thank you.